Morning, guys. Welcome to Trending. Just me today. And if you're as tired as I am, this show is brought to you in association with our own Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code Trending for 10% off. So let's get into today's stories. Israeli police raid Palestinian bookshop in East Jerusalem twice in a month. Books about Banksy and by Noam Chomsky were removed and one of the owners was detained. Now, this is the second time it's happened. So this is obviously the book burning that we had before, and the bit burning if you do it online, if you're getting rid of the whole of the Amazon's catalog, which you probably will happen at one point. Everyone's putting their stuff online. There's a chance, obviously, that would be control or deleted at one point. Israeli police have raided the leading Palestinian bookshop in East Jerusalem for the second time in a month, detaining one of its owners for several hours and seizing some of its stock. The Deputy State Attorney's Office has warned police that they overstepped their authority with the first raid on the shop in February, but they don't listen, do they? So they just go and do it again. They don't listen to the ICC. They don't listen to anyone. At some point, these guys are going to need to be held accountable in some way, but they're not listening to any authorities like the big bully in the school. Officers again arrived at the educational bookshop without a warrant on Tuesday morning, staff said. Without a warrant. It just turned up. I mean, how do you even know if they're officers at all? It's absolute carnage over there in East Jerusalem and Jerusalem and the Middle East as a whole. It's absolutely disgusting. They're obviously bullying this guy out of the shop. He's obviously showing people an alternative view, an alternative narrative that they don't want to hear, or they don't want the people to hear. They search stock using Google Translate. So they're using a DARPA funded ARPA, the internet, the same thing. It's all one big group, technology to censor people. So the tech is taking over. Can you see what's happening there? So they're stepping back behind the technology, Google Translate, to trust Google that they're going to tell them the truth of what these books say, and then getting rid of them on the technology say so. So we're taking a step back here. We've got a story later on that shows us how this narrative is being pushed, is that the technology is being put in front of humans. The cart is being put before the horse. And this is happening again and again and again. We have the old narrative of humans are sinful, we are stupid. And this comes up in the clip that we've got again later. And this is what's happening. Trust technology. Trust your God technology before you trust your own instincts. So this is what's happening. So this poor fellow is 61-year-old Imad Muna, and his brother Murad Muna told The Guardian. So they were both, one of them was arrested even. They chose books by the cover, taking books that had a Palestinian flag or just the word Palestine in the title. So they obviously couldn't speak the language or read the language. That's why they needed Google Translate, which they were trusting. Muna said they were using Google Translate and took photos to send to their bosses. It's insane. They confiscated books including titles on the work of British artists Banksy and others by the Israeli historian Ian Pape and the US academic Noam Chomsky. After taking them, the police locked the shop and left with the key, taking Imad Muna to a nearby police station before releasing him without charge. They're just harassing these people, saying if you're going to put a alternative narrative out there, then we're going to come with our technology, our new God, and go way beyond any law. So this was completely against law, and they've done it twice now, harassing this man because he dares to put another alternative view out there. This is 1984 in your face, and this is obviously happening in Israel. It's happening all over the world in terms of suppression of information with algorithms. X claims to be the platform of free speech, but obviously it's not. You've got certain narratives with certain keywords which has been put in through the algorithm through AI will be shadow banned and they won't be seen. I think it was the XWAF head, I forget her name, Linda something, forget her last name. And she came from the World Economic Forum and headed up X now. Elon Musk brought her over, and she said that it's freedom of speech without freedom of reach, which is not the same. You cannot have one. It's an oxymoron. You need to have the largest audience possible, and everybody should have the largest audience possible for them to make their own decisions. That's the point. So you're just shouting in a cul-de-sac in a dead end on X and things like this. So they're not freedom of speech at all. It's like shouting in a cell on your own. Yeah, you can say it, but no one's going to hear it. And that's the point. So we're having this happen in the real world in terms of actual physical books. We're having bit burning online, and we're having suppression of freedom of speech and opinions on platforms like X, because they don't allow you to be seen by anyone. Obviously, you get people like Ian Carroll, who's just come along wandered out of the woods, and he's suddenly on Joe Rogan, one of the biggest podcast in the world, which was platformed that way and made for that purpose, suddenly on there. And then you find out that this fella's got connections and does a podcast with Justin Trudeau's stepbrother. So you mean, come on, it's all involved with Bitcoin. So this is happening all over the world, and this is a very slow drip process. And this is exactly what happened before World War II. And it's coming about again. And these are the same lunatics behind it, with just a different CEO at the head, but the same agenda always. So that was Israel. So we'll go over to, the funny thing is, the Freedom of Information Act is the other end of it, and it's backfired a bit here with technology. So it seems like it's causing a bit of trouble to these occultists, but those further down the line, those further down the pyramid. Release of Technology Secretary's use of ChatGPT will have Whitehall sweating. This was a bit funny, but it actually affects the lower levels of politicians as well. So, use of the Freedom of Information Act to reveal Peter Kyle's ChatGPT queries has shocked experts and left journalists wondering what to request next. So they looked through his ChatGPT history and made it public, and they found out what he was actually looking for. And one of the things I believe he was looking for was what podcast shall I go on? But it wasn't that. I mean, that's pretty harmless. It shows that he's obviously trying to just promote a narrative. But the fact is, they were able to release his Chat GPT history to the public in the Freedom of Information Act. And that's going to scare a lot of people in politics to, oh my God, what they're going to look for on my phone and my search history. Again, you can imagine what's been going on in there in Parliament with their search history. So it's backfired a bit. When Tony Blair looked back on his time in power, he had a simple assessment of decisions to introduce the Freedom of Information Act. He said he was an idiot. I'd say he is an idiot, but not for those things. While the Tech Secretary, Peter Kyle, is a fan of the former Prime Minister, he may be to agree with that verdict after the act was used to reveal that he had been asking ChatGPT which podcast he should appear on. The disclosure has already caused frustration among ministers, given its possible repercussions. So basically, we can see right now, that'll be changed, obviously, what they've done with their ChatGPT searches. Blair's gripe was the act risked stopping the frank discussions needed among ministers and officials. Ever since, it has become notoriously difficult to have a freedom of information request granted, as officials exploit various legal exemptions to refuse them. So this is only going to help that and say, look, you're looking into my ChatGPT history, and I don't want you to do. The successful use of the legislation to probe into Carl's AI chatbot has led some to conclude that a new president has been set, one that will have officials across Whitehall sweating over their recent chatbot interactions. So we know people like companies like Palantir have been collecting this data for years to use against you in any way, shape or form, creating any narrative. But this has been now put out to the public, and I think the lower levels of the political class, if you can call it that, are realizing that they're for the chopping blocks too. So the technology is backfiring, but only depending on how far you are up the ladder or the pyramid of control. So let's talk about more technology. Now, everyone has seen, who will listen to this and look into the transhumanist agenda, would have seen that the series Black Mirror. It's been around quite a while now. I think around about 13, 14 years now. It's on season 7 now. 7 is a Kabbalistic number that's very important. So this series is embedded and built upon symbology and predictive programming, showing you what's coming down the line. But now it seems to be, it's almost gone in on itself, and it's actually just repeating what people have been saying for a long time, even in the mainstream and the more commercial levels of the alternative media. It's kind of looped round in a cybernetic loop, which is the study of whole systems. So cybernetics is the study of whole systems. So in this series of Black Mirror, they're teasing everything that many of us have been talking about for a long time. They're teasing transhumanism. They're teasing the Gnostic matrix level of going into a virtual reality. There's a bit of Westworld in there, but also the levels of it. They're talking about some sort of more occult, metaphysical things. So you have a bit where one of the characters walks into a black room and there's nothing there, which is the land of Nod. There is nothing around them to fix their orientation on. So that's a nod and a wink to that. They have the humans see artificial intelligence as less than them. And so they've kind of spun that around and talked about basically humans are sinful from the start, and why is technology less seen less. There's a bit in there that looks like the classic kind of Elon Musk character talking about why would we have this technology if we can't use it, and this is to do with apotheosis, the feeling of these transhumanists that want to become gods and reach the highest level that humans can in their crazy mind, which isn't human at all. Have a look, we've got a clip here, but this is just full of it, and again it's just a confirmation of the method. It's revelation of the method. This is just the act of revealing something that they're blatantly going to put into place. It embeds it in your mind as an archetype, and it comes about, and you're not so shocked by it when it does because you're kind of familiar with it. So this is a clip from Black Mirror Series 7.
We'd like to welcome you back.
Ready?
Yeah. 3, 2...
And action.
They call it mind expanding. It alters your neuronal structure. The mind is a computer. Suddenly, we're not just more receptive. You become a receiver.
Sometimes we have to do things that we don't want to do.
I just want something magical, timeless.
Come with me.
We'll all be cyborgs before long.
Yeah.
Just remember that they're AIs. To them, this is real.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Kids love honey. That's why parents love Honey Nugs. The sweetest way to start your day.
We're getting quite a following.
Yes.
We have to create software that elevates us. Or else, what is the fucking point of the tools at our disposal?
I had never seen anything like it.
Humans consider artificial life to be somehow less than them.
Do you have a problem with me?
What?
She was just a bit odd.
Odd? We're all a bit odd.
My heart is pounding like a drum.
I'd have listened.
You'd have heard her?
Yes, I would!
You are a fucking miracle.
It's a game.
What are most games about?
Escapism?
Killing.
I don't like this game.
I'm losing my mind.
So you can see there, it's chock to the brim of the classics of transhumanism and technocracy, and the brain implants, the AI world, the disappearing into a virtual reality and them crossing over to this side, and the difference between heaven and earth coming together. That's all Kabbalistic, transhumanist technocracy belief systems that are coming about, not in reality so much, but in terms of their thinking on what they believe they can achieve. Because again, it doesn't really matter what we believe. It matters what these people with a lot of money and a lot of influence right now believe. They're crazy enough to believe this, and they will harm a lot of people trying to make it happen, regardless of whether it's a reality or not. That's for you to decide, the viewer at home. But we're at a time now where the technology, as I said in the first article, is being put before humans. the cart is being put before the horse. That's exactly where we are right now. So keep an eye on all of these narratives that are going about, because we can see them in our age and our generation, if you're my generation or one below, because you can remember what the world was like before the internet. So you can see that. But imagine being born into this world in 100 years' time and things are the difference between the technology and you, especially when it becomes to the point where it is in your mind. So this is very interesting. It's well worth a watch. These are very interesting, great series, by the way. But again, for people that aren't aware of what the background is, the revelation of the method here, the predictive programming, the suggestion, it's just a fun series to look into. But these people believe this stuff. People like Curtis Yarvin talks about this, who was at Trump's inauguration. Elon Musk talks about elements of this. You've got Anthony Lewandowski, who was released by Trump on his last day in office last time, who is a transhumanist, who ran an AI cult with an AI godhead, and he's been allowed to just continue that when he comes out. They're all attached. Peter Thiel funds one of the companies from Curtis Yarvin. Go and look him up if you haven't seen anything about him yet. He's got a very weird manifesto called Patchwork. So have a look into these guys, because they are mad, but they are in positions of influence as well. So that is very, very worrying there. So my last story, we've got to do, it's been a bit of a downer, isn't it? It's been a bit of a low one. So what we need to do is pick ourselves up before the weekend. And we like to end the weekend on a positive story. So this is today's positive story. Bus driver saves the day after seeing a boy crying when he forgot his pajamas on pajama day. There are some lovely people out there still in the world. So a bus driver from Kentucky went for far and above and beyond the call of duty when he saw one of his regular riders in distress. A child named Levy was crying when driver Larry Farris Jr. arrived at his stop. Normally when I pull up, he's standing there waiting for me with a big smile, but on this day he was sitting on the ground with a jacket over his head. Farris 35 says, I asked him, hey buddy, what's going on? What's wrong? It turned out that today was pajama day and Engelhard Elementary School, but Levy didn't have any, so he was going to miss out on all the fun. He told Farris Jr. that the predicament he found himself in before he slunk to the back of the bus away from his friends. So the driver thought, I've got to fix this. And then he added that he went to a Family Dollar and pickup store and picked up 2 pairs before rushing to Engelhard and surprising Levy in his class. And he's got some pictures there of the little boy. I mean, it's just the small things, isn't it, that make the world go round. These are the things that you remember when you get older. You don't look on worrying about what Donald Trump was doing and his maniac mates when we're older and we're sitting there. We remember these tiny little bits when people were nice to us and went out of their way for no reason other than just to, do something nice in the world to help the world go along. There's far more people in the world like this than there are of the likes of these maniacs. You've got 99% of the world are good people, and that's our saving grace. The numbers are in our favor. So remember little stories like this for your weekend, because the people you meet out on the street aren't the people that we're reporting about on a daily basis. Not at all. They're 1 in 10, these lunatics, if that. So this show is brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING for 10% off. We will see you next week when the boys will be back. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.